I got some tea to spill, so if you're ready to chill, take a Jill pill.
What's up? How's it going? Welcome back to Take a Jill Pill. If it's your first time here, you probably want to go listen to some previous episodes. You don't have to. But this is a little different episode because we're going to do, it's like an advice show. It's like, consider me almost like Dear Abby. This is like going to be a Dear Jill episode because you guys sent in questions and situations that you want advice on, and I'm going to deliver that. We'll see how that goes. Okay, we'll get to more of that later. I hope you had a good week. I heard from like a lot of people, probably the most I've ever heard of people messaging me being like, I laughed so hard at the aunt's funeral thing, and not at the aunt's funeral thing, but at me laughing at the aunt's funeral thing, which is, I did that because I didn't really want to, because I don't necessarily want everyone to hear me in that state. You know, like when you send an audio message to one of your close friends, you know, you don't expect to just put it out there publicly, but I'm glad I did because apparently it made you guys laugh. So I appreciate you letting me know that. It's just funny. An aunt's funeral is never going to not be funny to me. So anyway, I just got back. I just got home from a short little road trip weekend in the mountains of New Hampshire. I feel like I always post, if you're not from here, and I know I've talked about New England a little bit already in this podcast, but I always post the coastal part of New England because that's where I live. And also I just love it and it's picturesque. And so I always take a lot of pictures of that. But if that's the only reference you have for New Hampshire, like you're really missing out because actually that's like the smallest section of New Hampshire. It's really mostly mountains and lakes and trees and beautiful things. So anyway, I was up north. A lot of my family lives up in the mountains, and I had a cousin who had a new baby and a couple other things going on with family. So took a little trip up there this weekend, which was nice. A little reset of, location. It's always nice. Got to go in a hot tub, play a little golf, drink a little beer. I don't drink beer. I had a cider. It was like a brewery, and I'm not a beer person. I'd like to be that cool, but I'm not. So I had a cider. It was pretty good. But I will say that life gets a little bit stranger, like the closer you get into the mountains, I think. I don't know if this is true. I think this is true like anywhere. But it just gets a little stranger. You know what I mean? The further you get from the city and the closer you get to the country and the mountains, it's like some of the signs, some of the stores, the gas stations are straight out of like a horror movie from the 70s, They've never changed. And probably like the snacks inside are also from there because it's hard, But it's kind of nice. It's kind of like a throwback. And then there's like weird companies and weird businesses and like some weird billboards. And there was one that we drove past and it was for 603 cremations. 603 is the area code here. That's the other thing I love about New Hampshire. One area code. We don't need to mess with all these different area codes. We just have one, 603. If you know my song East Coast Bound, that was like from 100 years ago, then 603. But anyway, so there's this billboard for 603 cremations. And I don't know, that's kind of weird and like morbid anyway to see as you're driving up to these beautiful mountains. But it's part of life. And the weird thing about it was on the bottom it says, ask us about our low cost options. I'm like, I kind of do want to ask you about that. Like what is a lower price point for the cremation process? Is it like a burn barrel? Do you only burn half the body? Like what is the lowest option there? And what's the highest option? I don't know. I just find that kind of intriguing. Cremation feels like it should just be the one price. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's maybe preying on the grieving to be like, well, if you really want to up the game here, you could get our elite cremation option. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is my dark sense of humor, but that sign really intrigued me. In fact, I meant to Google that and I haven't yet. Don't do it. I don't know. Maybe do it. I don't know. Maybe it's just their advertising, but like, I just feel like there's one cremation option. You know what I mean? That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. Also, we passed my favorite town name in New Hampshire, which is Effingham. Did you think I was about to swear? I know. Effingham. Imagine like you live in Effingham. You know what I mean? It's just like, where do you live? Effingham, And people are like, whoa, do you hate it? And like, no, it's just Effingham. I love that name. I want a t-shirt from Effingham. Like, what if you went to Effingham High? the Effingham, whatever. It's just so good. It feels so good. As a child who grew up where like you weren't really supposed to swear, you know, Effingham feels really good to me as a grown woman. I try not to swear, but you know, it's hard sometimes. But Effingham feels like a swear and it's not. So anyway, shout out to all my Effinghamians. All right, in other news, I do have another weird thing that I came across this week, okay? It was actually this morning. There was a road race. There's a lot of road races around here in the summer and spring because it's by the coast, it's picturesque. Like, yeah, it's a perfect place for it. Not great when you're driving. I have been working on my driving this week. I think I'm doing okay. I haven't been speeding. I've been like really trying. But there's all these runners on the road. It's hard. There's not a big shoulder. So it's just kind of like, you know, you got to be on your game. So anyway, I'm driving this morning and there's all these marathoners. It was a half. And so there's like all these runners and then there's walkers. And then there's all these people that are kind of walking and running and they have a trash bag filled like halfway with trash and those like grabber things, you know what I'm talking about? They're kind of like tongs, but they're like grabbers. Like if you're in a wheelchair, you have one. My grandfather used to have one to like pick up a newspaper or something. You know what I'm talking about? A grabber. Anyway, they have those and a trash bag and they're running with the bib on and everything and their gear. And then they're picking up trash. And I was like, what exactly is going on there? So I asked my brother, I was like, have you ever seen this? It's so weird. They're picking, he's like, oh yeah, that's like a thing. It's called plogging. I'm sorry, what? Yes, it's a real thing. And maybe I'm the first, maybe you guys all know about this, but it's literally like people do this. You run and walk, you kind of, which is a wog, which I'm learning. You walk and jog. That's a wog. And then if you also pick up trash while you're doing that, it's a plog. So you're plogging. And I mean, there were many people doing this. It's not like it's that trash. It's not like there's like excessive litter around here either. So, I mean, maybe there is because they all had like bags that were half full. But I was like, I'm sorry. Can you not? I just have this is a rant. All right. I'm sorry. But like, we're doing too much. Okay. We're all doing too much. We are trying to multitask in every area of our lives. And I'm all about a multitask. Like, that's good. Be productive, whatever. But can I just not go for either a walk or a jog? Or can I pick up trash? Do I have to try to do all three in a race, like at the same time? You know what I mean? I'm tired. It's just like, maybe that's laziness, but I also just don't feel like, yeah, if I see a piece of trash and it's convenient for me to pick it up and throw it away, of course, like love the environment, serve your neighborhood, do all the things. I'm all for that. And of course, walking, running, it's all good. I just don't understand, why do we need to do all three at the same time? 4, because you're also in a race. And also, are the people who are like competitively racing kind of annoyed by that? Like you're running along and then someone just like, whoop, let me stop real quick. And also, okay, here's my other, I have so many problems with this, and it's just that it's new to me, so I'm processing it with you in real time. This literally I just found out about this hours ago. So part of the benefit from what I looked into it a little bit, is like you're bending over and picking up trash. So it's sort of an all body workout. Okay, fine. I'll give you that. But then why do you need the grabber? Because the grabber is so that you don't have to bend down. And also, so you're running with a grabber and a trash bag. And why, guys? I don't know. If you do this, I would love to hear from you. And I know your heart is in the right place. I really do. I don't understand it. I'm sorry. I want to go for a walk. I barely even want to like listen to, I barely want to do anything else when I walk. You know what I mean? That's just it's making me look bad. I think that's the thing. It's like, I just want to do one thing at a time. I don't really want to be a multitasker in everything that I do. It's exhausting, guys. I know I'm old. I get it. I hear myself. But can you just take a little jog or a little walk or do a race or go pick up your trash for Earth Day? It's a very nice thing for people to do. But you don't have to combine it all into one. And then you don't need a name for it. Although I do love a name for something like plogging. Do you think it's like stands for, I didn't even look this up. Is it like picking litter while jogging? I don't know. Plogging. Plogging also kind of sounds like a bathroom word, like a plunger, something. I don't know. Plogging, it sounds like clogging. Oh, gosh, it's just too much. So anyway, if you know any more about that, you let me know. But it just seemed a little much for me today. So that's what New England is like. It's kind of a disaster up here right now. The Celtics lost in the playoffs. They were supposed to win. The Bruins lost in game 7, so they're done. The Patriots head coach is having affairs and who knows what. And that's I was almost going to talk more about that, but I'm not even going to get into it. That's kind of a disaster. It's just it's messy up here right now. There's a lot of litter along the roads here, metaphorically as well as literally, I guess. So anyway, it's May, first week of May. May the 4th is a big thing. People always say, May the 4th be with you. I've never seen Star Wars, guys. That's my admission to you today. And it's kind of one of my proud factoids. Do you have something and you're kind of proud of it? Like, I've never seen Star Wars and I think I never want to see it. I never want to see Star Wars now because I've gone this long. So why now? But people are really into that. I know. So I'm sorry. And some of you are going to gasp and be like, but I don't know. Have you seen The Sound of Music? Because I would gasp if you hadn't seen that. Okay. I've been watching, again, I'm only going to say one little thing about Love on the Spectrum. This is just, I know it's everyone, we're past this really. But I love it so much and it's so great. I'm a little annoyed with Tyler's music career. I'm just saying and he's so sweet, isn't he? He's the country guy that just, is with Madison. He's so sweet and he's so good to her. But he's got this new song oh yeah, the country thing. And it's sweet and great, but it's a little bit really, do you need to release a single? They're really pushing between him and Abby from, her music career. Am I being jaded about this? I know that I am. I hear myself. But for some reason, Tyler is it just gets me just a little annoyed, the country shtick. I'm just being honest. Good for him. You know what I mean? Good for him. Maybe I'm jealous. I don't know. Maybe I'm jealous. Anyway, they're adorable. They're just, everyone on that show is adorable. They just don't all need country careers. That's my only caveat to that. All right, guys, let me tell you about this episode. When I started this podcast, I asked, what do you want it to be about? And several of you were like, do an advice column, do an advice series. I do listener questions, but those aren't always those sometimes are about me or about random topics. And so I asked you guys on Instagram, what do you need advice on? And we'll do it anonymously so that I don't know who you are in case you're I don't really want you to know my drama, or whatever. So we have anonymous questions from listeners or followers of me on Instagram, at least, who have submitted things they want advice on. And I'm going to just do a Dear Abby, Dear Jill episode today. And I'm going to shoot from the hip because I really haven't done much analyzing of these questions. I haven't even looked at them since they came in so that I can kind of give you off the cuff answers that feel genuine. That being said, I'm not a therapist, counselor. I have zero qualifications to do this, other than just you asked. So I'm a human. I've lived some life and I like analyzing situations and giving you my best advice that I can. So that's going to be fun. That's the gist of this episode right there. But then we're obviously going to do some listener questions and the Jill pill. It's going to be great. All right, let's go right into the Dear Jill segment, Dear Abby, or I feel like I've always wanted to be Delilah. She doesn't really do advice as much as long distance dedications, but that would be kind of fun too. Man, I loved Delilah. Anyway, I'm not her, but I'm going to give you my best advice. So let's start with the question. Like I said, I have no idea who sent these in. I really don't. So I'm going to give you these answers and I don't have context. So it's going to be my best shot. Okay. Here's the question. My sister married a guy nobody in the family likes. Oh. He also seems to hate us, LOL. Great. Any advice integrating him into the family? That is a tough one, especially if it goes both ways. He doesn't like you and you don't like him. This is a very touchy situation. Now, if you're a close family, especially, this is hard. I'd be interested if the wedding went off without any hitches or if it's been bad from the beginning. Did she just go off and marry him and then bring him into the family or did you do the whole 9 yards? Either way, you're in it now. You guys are in it and you want to try to protect that relationship, obviously. And so here's what I think. I think the best way to get along with anyone who you really don't like or don't get along with is to find one thing you have in common or you share. Maybe you both like a certain sports team or a certain type of food. Maybe you have traveled to the same place and you can talk about that place. It's literally that small of like, find one commonality that you like and he likes. And that'll give you at least something to agree on. And when you agree on things with someone, you kind of form some unity with them. So that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice for this situation, and this is hard, okay, especially if he hates you, because to be unliked, we know I hate that. I don't like when people don't like me, Mary. Anyway, so here's what I would try though. Find one thing you like about him. Okay. I know how hard that can be because it's very easy when two people don't like each other. I've been in this scenario and it's like it feels impossible to find anything that you like about them, you know, but there has to be one thing, like one good quality. And I would just start there. Don't try to be like, no, we're just going to like him, because you can't force yourself, but try that. It's about finding the things you do have in common and that you do like about him instead of focusing on all the reasons you guys don't get along and all of that. And this is a tough one. I don't know. Like, I don't know how he treats you. That could be really difficult. And so I don't know if that's good advice or not, but it's somewhere to start it seems like you're trying to get somewhere with this. So that's what I would do. Okay. Good luck. Keep me posted if you want to reveal your identity, but you don't have to. Or you can you can give me anonymous. I'll do an anonymous like updates sometime. Okay. Next question. As a shy person who doesn't love being touched, how can I be less stiff on the rare occasions I try to be out in public? I always feel awkward and people can feel that. Hey, you're speaking my language right now. I'm also a shy person. Not big on physical touch either. Like you get used to it, like when you are a musician and touring and you meet people after every show and you hug a lot of people, you know. I'm not a big hugger. I've become okay with it, but I was never a big hugger either. So I feel this. And some people are just very touchy. So you're living in a world where you, like you said, like this makes sense. Like you are trying to adjust to the world. And I think that's good. That's a good place to be. Okay. So without knowing you, I don't know how like severe this is. Like some people, it's anxiety, you know what I mean? And that is, I can't just like fix anxiety or say like, yeah, just get over it, because it's not that easy. But I think one thing that has helped me a little bit, and I had to do this, like I said, because I was around a lot of people and they want to touch you, not like in a weird way, but like shake your hand and hug you. And like they're excited to do that. And some people in public are just like that. Like I had a waiter the other night who was like, he would put his hand like on each of our shoulders as we ordered. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to touch me. You know, like it's unnecessary. But instead of causing a scene, unless it's like really inappropriate and then you need to speak up for yourself. But if it's just sort of how it is and you don't want to cause a scene, I think it's all about just getting out of your head. You just let it happen, be like, you get used to it. You get more comfortable with hugging, like hug people more. I honestly had to start doing that. Like I would initiate hugs. There's people who know me really well that like won't hug me because they know I'm not a hugger. And I'm like, no, I do hug now, because I just like had to almost change that about myself so that I just got used to it. So I think it's just get out of your head if you can, let it happen. And then the biggest part, as you're doing this, as you're like around people and you're getting more comfortable with the physical touch side of things, it's like, don't go home and overanalyze it either. You know what I mean? Because that's where you're going to be freaking out on yourself. Like, and then did I hug that too long? And was that awkward? And I went in for the handshake and they went in for the hug. And you can overthink it. I'm totally just pretending you're me, because this is something I did for a long time. And you just need to like let it go after a situation like that. Done. There's probably a million times where someone has done something awkward with me, of like, they went for a fist bump and I went for a handshake, and it's like, you know, we accidentally bumped shoulders, like, you know, those kind of things. I don't go home and think about that and like, how awkward was that guy, you know, or girl or whatever. I don't do that. And most people don't. And so just try not to be hard on yourself as you're doing this. Like, just be in your body, live the experience. And when it's done, don't overanalyze it. It was what it was. Okay. Good luck. I think this is a good thing for you, because it sounds like you're just wanting to grow as a person. And I like that. I think that that's important. We all have things that we struggle with. And yeah, so good for you. And like I said, you don't have to hug everyone and like touch everyone either. You can set your boundaries with that, but do it in comfortable relationships or places where you're like, yeah, I could try to practice it here. Okay, good luck. Good luck out there. It's a hard world for a shy person. I agree with that. All right, next question. I just got asked to serve with the young girls at my church, 12 to 18 years old. Okay. My journey with them so far has been pretty awkward. Any advice on connecting with teens and tweens? Guys, I love that you're coming to me for awkward advice. Can I just say that? Because I am the queen of awkward. And so I love that. I like giving awkward advice. Okay, tweens and teens are totally awkward, first of all. So that's not necessarily on you in any capacity. Not that you're saying it was. But good for you for serving and like helping. And teens need good role models and good connections that are not their parents or family members even. I have worked with that age group a little bit, like in camps, and, you know, we did speaking. Kate and I did a lot of speaking to young girls. And so I have a little bit of experience in that. And I think I'm going to say this again. It's like they are definitely thinking about themselves in every part of this interaction you're having with them because they're at that age. You know, and I think people in general are usually thinking about themselves, but teenage girls 100% are like in their heads and like, do I look right? Did I say, you know, they're just like, that's so sad. But I think like if you were a teenage girl ever, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's just a hard transitional time. So I would say kind of the same thing I said about the question where the sister married the guy that the family doesn't like. Find something in common with these girls. It might be like, it's probably maybe music. I feel like that's a good one. This is hard because the thing with teens is you could be like, yeah, 6'7", and they're like, 6'7" is so over now, you know, and it's like 3 days later after that happened, you know, or I don't know, give me an artist like Taylor Swift. That's probably a good one. They probably like Taylor Swift, but like Olivia Rodrigo, or I don't know, somebody that they like. But the hard thing with teens is like, it can shift so fast. So I don't know if that's good advice or not, but ask them, like, what are you guys into? What do you like? What are you listening to? What are you watching? And then like do a little research into that stuff. And by research, I just mean like listen to what they're listening to, read what they're reading, watch the TikTok channels they're watching, or whatever they might be doing. I'm so old, so I don't know what they're doing. And I don't have kids, so I don't know. But if you can connect on something and show interest in them, that's, I think, the best way. It's like, don't try to be a cool leader or like authority or like be cooler and grown up than them. Just try to like relate to where they're at. I think that that's going to make them the most comfortable. And then they're going to think you're cool because you care about them. Like I think that's true in general. I mean, I don't think people are cool because they have a cool job or they look cool or they drive a cool car. Like, I think people are cool because they're nice to me. They like show genuine interest in getting to know me, you know, and like they're comfortable with themselves, you know. Those are the reasons I would think someone's cool. So you don't have to try to be cool. You just try to connect, you know, and I think connection comes from showing interest in what they're interested in. So good luck with that. That's a hard age. And they can be, you know, they can be tricky teenage girls, but they're just figuring it out. And we've all been there, you know, so good for you for doing this and just connect. It's going to be great. Okay. Next question. How do you tell your friend who has a podcast that you want to be her producer? Well, you just tell me, okay? You just tell me. That's funny. I am looking for a producer. No, not really, but you can weigh in however you'd like. All right, here's another question. That was just obviously one of my friends being funny. I think I have a guess. How do you forgive a friend that broke your heart? Oh gosh, I hope this isn't one of my friends. How do you forgive a friend that broke your heart? Okay, friendship heartbreak is really a tough thing. I think obviously romantic heartbreak is very tough and it's the focus of a lot of like songs and, you know, therapy sessions. But a friendship breakup or a friendship betrayal, anything like that, those have been harder for me sometimes than romantic ones, honestly, because you just don't expect that kind of betrayal or heartbreak, honestly, in friendship until you experience it. And I've experienced a lot of that actually in my life. And I've probably been on the other side of it too. I know I have actually. So it's tough, and it's worth fighting for friendships a lot of the times, I believe. Not always, but a lot of the times it is. But if someone broke your heart and you want to mend that and you want to forgive that, here's what I would say. Forgiving it is definitely a choice that you have, and it doesn't matter what they do moving forward. You have to forgive for your own sake. You know, it's that whole metaphor of like holding a grudge and being bitter at someone is like drinking poison and then expecting them to die. You know, it's not healthy to not forgive someone. It's not easy, but you have to do it for you. You have to let that go. And that you can do whether you want to save the friendship or not. If both sides want to save the friendship and there's genuine like remorse and awareness that they did break your heart, then it's a slow roll to healing. There's a lot of conversations that need to be had, a lot of honesty and vulnerability on both sides, I think. And that's a choice you have to make. Like if someone broke your heart like that, do you want them as a friend? I don't know. You might not. If you do, and they want to mend it as well and take ownership for their part in it, I think it's possible, and I think it's beautiful. Like I've had that happen in my life several times, and it makes a friendship stronger when you've gone through something like that a lot of times. So I'm sorry this happened to you. I totally relate to this. And I think the forgiveness is just something you need to do internally. If they never ever apologize or never even know they did something wrong or think they did something wrong, you can still forgive them because it's going to be a weight off your back. It doesn't affect them, you know? Does that answer the question? Because I guess, how do you do it? Because you asked how. You decide they don't have the power anymore to like make you feel the way that you're feeling. You take ownership over those feelings and they don't have that ownership anymore. That's how you start to forgive them. That's what I think. It's all on you, unfortunately. And in a perfect world, they meet you halfway and you guys figure it out together. That doesn't always happen. Friendship heartbreak, dude. It's no joke. It really isn't. I've grown a lot from those situations in my life. Okay, next question. Are we doing okay here, guys? Is it too heavy? Maybe I'll find a lighter one. Okay, hold on. Oh, here's one. How do I tell my girlfriend she's not a great cook? She likes to cook at home and her food is not that good, but I don't want to hurt her feelings. Oh, dude. Well, I don't know if this is a dude or not, but that is tough, okay? Some people just aren't that good of cooks. I got to respect her for wanting to cook at home and probably save some money, maybe be healthy. But if you don't like the food, that could be tough. So here's what I would say for this. Find a recipe that looks really good to you. I don't know if you cook or if you have any interest in that, but you're going to have to start showing a little interest in it. Okay? That's my advice. Find something and be like, hey, we should cook this together. Okay? We should do this. This looks really good. Let's try it. And just do it together and find something that's like got a lot of flavor, got a lot of spice, maybe uses some different seasonings you've never bought. Then when you go out and buy the seasonings, you could be like, wow, this seasoning, this garlic salt, revolutionary. I don't know. Paprika, I don't know, whatever, spice or flavor or sauce that you want to throw in there and be like, we could try this on that other recipe you made last week. You just start working it in, you know what I mean? And I feel like you don't want to hurt her feelings, but you don't want to lie either, and you need to like what you're eating. Like that's important. You don't want to be like that forever. I don't know how long that goes. Like, you don't want to be 80 years old and married and be like, I've never liked your food, So I would say join forces here. Find some recipes that you think will be really good and flavorful and do them together and then see how that goes. Okay. And then just have like Domino's on standby, that commercial where you like the emergency pizza. I think you could just have that on standby. Okay, let's go back to something else. Here's another one. I've always been someone who puts other people first, sometimes even complete strangers. I don't see that part of myself changing, but in relationships, that can also mean I tolerate behavior that isn't healthy for me, even when someone is toxic. Thoughts? I do have thoughts, guys. You guys are like reading my diary or something. I think a lot of people grow up in families and they become the caretaker, the one who is always looking out for somebody else, is always putting other people first. And that's such a good quality. I don't want to diminish that quality because we all benefit from people like that in our lives who take care of us, and put us first. When you are that person in a family, I think it starts in a family unit. Like, take a look at how you grew up. Take a look at maybe your parents and your siblings and stuff and be like, did I do this with them? Maybe you didn't. But a lot of times I think people who struggle with this as an adult, that was birthed within your family. But then you start to do that, like you said, with complete strangers. Totally, yes. And in relationships, then you're like losing yourself a little bit. Okay, we're going to have a guest soon. I'm so excited because this is the perfect, I should have waited for this question. There's going to be a therapist that I'm going to have on the podcast who really just wrote a book about this. And so I'm not going to talk too much about this because we're going to have a whole episode about like losing yourself in relationships. So that's just a teaser. But I think this idea of you tolerating behavior that isn't healthy for you, even when someone's toxic, you are recognizing that that's not okay. And I think that is the first step towards like, you're doing great, okay? You're seeing it. Because if you don't see it, you can't fix it, right? So good for you for seeing it and even just talking about it and acknowledging it. If I were having a conversation with you right now, I would ask you, do you have any relationships in your life where someone's caring about you as much as you care about everyone else in your life? You can't answer that for me because I don't know who you are. But ask yourself that question, okay? And if you don't have that, that's something worth looking into with maybe a therapist. If you do have some relationships like that, I hope you do, you have to let people help you. You have to be honest and vulnerable with other people. I'm saying this and I'm not very good at this, to be honest with you. But I know that I need to. I have gotten better at it. But you need to be cared for and not just always be caring for someone else, because you will lose yourself in that and you will like kind of disappear and you probably will grow resentful, usually of like the closest people to you, even if they're not the worst culprits. Because you said you're like treating complete strangers better than you're treating yourself, essentially. And tolerating treatment that you shouldn't be. When you're a caretaker, when you're someone who has these qualities that you're explaining, it feels so wrong to like take care of yourself and stand up for yourself and draw a boundary line and not help someone or not put someone first when you normally would. It feels so weird and wrong. You're going to have guilt. You're going to have shame. You're going to have all these things of like, no, it's the right thing to be selfless and do that for someone else. But sometimes it's the right thing to take care of yourself. Even me saying that, I've had a lot of therapy. I've had a lot of like times where I've had to do this and it sucks. And I still hear me telling you this and I'm like, yeah, but it is good to help other people. And so you're just wired that way probably. And a lot of us are, especially women, especially if you're like a youngest child, a daughter, there's a lot there. Okay. I don't know what you are, but you might be that. That's what I am. So that's where I'm getting that from. But I'm going to boil it down. Okay. Because it's a lot of words. If I'm going to boil it down, I would say this. You can still be a really good caretaker and love the people around you really well and not be walked all over, not be in toxic relationships, and not lose yourself in it. It is possible, but it does take a lot of intentional work. And you have to care for yourself, because if you don't care for yourself, you're showing other people not to care for you too. And if you're super independent and you're like, no, I'm fine, I'm good, like I can take care of myself, eventually people will stop trying to help take care of you because they're like, oh, I guess they can take care of themselves, and they don't. So don't do that. I mean, I'm not saying don't do that. That seems so harsh, but figure out your boundary lines, take care of yourself, still be kind and selfless. People already know you are that way if this is something you do. But try to find the balance in it. It's all about balance. That's the biggest thing. It's all about balance. Obviously, I have a lot of thoughts on that topic, but hopefully that was helpful. let's do one more. I think I'm going to have to save some of these. This is getting long. And so I think I'm going to have to save some of these for another episode. We'll do another advice episode after another cult episode and guests and all those things. Okay. Last question. My child is in elementary school and her best friends are way more immature than she is. They are rude, don't listen, act out, etc. I'm friends with their parents and realizing we have different parenting styles. I don't want to lose these new friendships, so how should I address their kids' behavior? Ooh, okay. First, I would like to say I do not have kids. So I always feel wary of giving like parenting advice, but we'll just not consider this parenting advice. I think who your kids are friends with is one of the most important parts of their childhood because they are their main influences. You know what I mean? And so this is tricky because you said you're friends with the parents and obviously, you know, you're calling them her best friends. So they're good friends at school and stuff. And so you don't want that influence of her friends to override your influence as how you're trying to raise her. It sounds like this is tough. This is a tough one. I had to think about it. I think there's a few things you can do. If they're hanging out outside of school, maybe try to keep it at your house, you know, so you can observe and kind of get a gauge for how badly are they influencing? Like how badly are they acting? Okay. You can't really control it at school. Hopefully the teachers have a little bit of that, but you can maybe kind of see it if they're at your house. The first thing I would think you can do is like really continue to raise your kids in a way where they care about their character. They have such a strong identity that they're not easily influenced by these other kids' behavior. So that's the first starting place. And it sounds like you're already doing that. But like, tell them, hey, when Sally does this, I don't know, I'm making up names. You know, I do that on this podcast. When Sally does this and is rude to her sister, we don't do that in our family, you know, like, or, you know, and just really like make it clear what your family is about instead of like making it what the other families shouldn't, or what the other kids shouldn't do or anything like that. So that's the starting point. And then are these people, the parents, are they people that you feel like you could have a conversation with? Like not an accusatory one, but just one where you ask a lot of questions like, hey, in our family, we don't say idiot. We don't, I don't know, whatever. We don't, you know, talk back to our parents. Is that something you guys are more comfortable with? You know, just ask a lot of questions, kind of gauge where they're at. They might not even be aware of it. You know, people are busy and who knows? And people grew up in different ways. And so if you can have a conversation that's like just exploratory and maybe say, I'm really trying to work with Sally on respect. And so if she's at your house and she does this, you know, would you let me know or whatever? And so make it about your kids kind of like, we're trying to do this, see how they respond. If they're not open, if they're not open to even that conversation, they might not be friends worth continuing that closely with anyway. One thing I think in my life is like, if I can't have a conversation with someone in my life about something a little difficult or tricky, that's maybe complicated or awkward or a little confrontational, if we can't have that conversation because they won't have that conversation, I don't know, maybe it's not worth getting real close to them because there's always going to be things you run into as your kids get older, as life changes and different things happen. You're going to have good communication. So see if they're open to just having that conversation. If your kid is young now, that's the time to do it, I would say. And if they're not, then it might be just worth investing in some other friendships where you do align more with the family values of the other families and stuff like that. That's so hard because when your kids have friends and they really want to like hang out with certain people, you don't want to like be the one that won't let them. So I get that. You're in a tough situation. I appreciate that question. I don't feel like I can give you advice from experience, but hopefully that is something that helps a little bit. I don't know, guys. How did I do on my Dear Abby segment? Was that sound advice? We'll have to find out. Okay. Thank you guys. I do have way more, actually several more questions that I didn't get to. So I'm sorry if I didn't today get you to yours. And we'll do another episode if you like this. And if you don't, then don't listen to it. I'm just kidding. Okay. Whew. With that, I've decided that my top 5 for today is going to be the top 5 pieces of advice that I've received in my life. Some of them are from people directly to me, and some are pieces of advice that I've gotten from like movies or books or something like that. But a lot of them are straight from people I know. Okay, number 5. This is from a movie, a Lauren Graham movie called It's Kind of a Funny Story. And one of the pieces of advice in there is, don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. So if you wouldn't trade places with me, don't listen to this episode. No, I don't think, when I think of it's like someone you wouldn't trade places with, what I think of that more as, because like who would you trade places with in life, right? Because then you're not going to take advice from anyone. But I think of this more as like, if you don't respect and agree with how someone else is living their life or how they've navigated relationships and things, then don't take advice from them on that, you know? Make sure you're taking advice from people that you respect, bottom line. So number 5 is don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. That's really helped me sorting through people's opinions or suggestions to me in my life. It's like, do I care? Do I respect them? And like, would I want their life? If not, I'm not going to take their advice on my life. Okay. Number 4, if you have something to fall back on, you'll fall back on it. I got this advice when I was starting my music career. We were starting Jill and Kate, and one of our teachers was like, said this to us, because everyone was sort of like leaving college, a lot of people wanted to pursue music, but they also were getting like a teaching degree or whatever degree. And like, just in case I can be a plumber, I can do whatever. And that's not a bad thing. But if you have, he said to us, if you have something to fall back on, you will fall back on it, just bottom line. And so we really took that to heart and we're like, we're not going to have something to fall back on. We're just going to go for it. And that isn't necessarily, maybe that's not advice for you. Okay. But for me in that moment, it was like, that was the only way I was going to pursue something kind of crazy and like a dream. Because if I had had a cushy, safe job at home, I would have gone and done that. And I never would have taken a risk, and pursued this career that I've had. So number 4, if you have something to fall back on, you'll fall back on it. I don't know if that's advice or just sort of an opinion, but okay. Number 3. A good relationship should make you feel more freedom, not less freedom. This is from one of my friend's moms, and I love this piece of advice because this is true in any kind of relationship, okay? A romantic relationship or just a friendship, like how we were talking about. We're talking a lot about friendships on this episode, I guess, today with advice. But like, if you enter any kind of relationship and you are less free than you were before to be yourself, to like pursue your life, I know that when you enter a relationship, like you're making some sacrifices. That's not what we're talking about here. You are going to, especially if it's romantic, like you're going to commit to this person, and that means you're giving up parts of your life. But it shouldn't be where you become a prisoner. You should feel more free to be yourself in a friendship or a relationship. And if you don't, that's sort of a red flag. If you have to shrink down and be less in any way, like less personality, less opinion, whatever, that's not freedom. That's not freeing. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that is so helpful because you've been in certain relationships where you're like kind of feeling trapped. You're kind of like, if this friend makes me like feel like if I go do something with someone else, they're going to be mad at me. And no, like that is not a good friendship. That is not a good relationship. If someone is always making you feel scared or bad or they're going to be mad at you, that's not freedom in a relationship. So a good relationship should make you feel more free, not less free. I think that's good. I think that's good advice. Okay. Number 2, don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Woo! I read this somewhere. I don't remember where I read it. But if we're talking about that question, we were just talking about it in the advice section, putting everyone else first, like making sure everyone else is okay. Don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. That is the bottom line of what you're doing when we're talking about tolerating toxic behavior or putting strangers above yourself. You're setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And that's not your job. And you're burning yourself up. Gosh, when I heard that, it like struck me like, oh, get them a blanket. Get them a blanket to help keep them warm. Do not set yourself on fire. You're not helping anyone with that. That's a good piece of advice. All right. And my top number one piece of advice, that probably is number one, but I like number one because it comes from my mom and my great grandmother actually is the first person who said this. But whenever we weren't feeling good, like as a kid, if you weren't feeling good or you were feeling down, anything, sick, anything, my mom would say, Nana always said, take a shower and you'll feel better. And probably she said bath back then because I don't think they had showers back in my great grandmother's day, but it turned into shower. And it was like, take a shower and you'll feel better. And I love this advice because it's not like life-changing, right? It's not like this deep thing. It's literally just a reset of like, anytime I feel like I'm thrown emotionally, if I don't feel good, if I have a cold, if I have anything wrong, I take a shower because it's like, that's what my mom always told me to do. You take a shower and you'll feel better. It used to drive me crazy because it felt like like if I was really sick, and it was like, just take a shower and you'll feel better. And I was like, no, I'm actually sick. But the more that I've kind of grown and think about it, it really works for me. There's something about being in the water, cleansing yourself. It's like a reset. Ironically, my mom hates taking showers. She always has, but she really does now. Like people with dementia, like don't like water showers. And so it's kind of makes me laugh whenever I think about it because I'm like, you take a shower, you know what I mean? But take a shower and you'll feel better. It's the most simple piece of advice that has literally changed my life. I take a lot of showers because, I go through a lot of things. I go through a lot of emotions and I will take a shower and I will feel better. It does work, whether that's the power of the mind and just like hearing that my whole life or whether it really works. I don't know. I'm a water person, so I think it's both. But that's the top piece of advice that I've received. And so I'm passing it on to you. Okay. All right. Woo. This is a lot of words, a lot of advice. I would love for you guys to tell me the best piece of advice that you've ever heard. I love because I like learning from other people. So DM me and just tell me like, what's the best piece of advice you've heard and who told it to you? Because I also think that's a factor, people you really respect and love and appreciate in life, like they give you good advice. And so pass that on to me. Okay. We're going to do listener questions. We're going to keep them short today, guys, because I have kind of answered a lot of questions already, although these are a little different, but we're just going to keep it short. We'll do 2 today. So first question is this. What's something you judged people for until you became that person? That's a good one. Probably a lot of things, honestly, I feel like. But here's one thing. I kind of used to be judgy about people who would like overspend for convenience. You know what I mean? Like even something like DoorDash, or that's a minor one, but like if you could rent a car and it would be cheaper than, flying or getting a driver or something, I would be like, why would you not just rent the car? It's so much cheaper. And now I am like, oh yeah, I will pay more for whatever if it's convenient for me, especially like on an airplane now, like I will not do a middle seat. Why am I going to save $25? It's just not worth it for me, those type of things. And I used to be judgy about that. Like, why would you spend on that? I don't know. Those aren't good examples, but you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that are just so convenient. It's worth paying for. I grew up in a family where you didn't do that, like you packed your own snacks and, stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I am just going to get the popcorn at the movie theater, even though it's way overpriced. Although I will still bring in like my own candy. So maybe I'm kind of still like that. But there's just some things I will pay for now out of convenience, and older like versions of me would judge myself for that. But that's a good question. Okay, next. What is something you learned or saw while traveling the world that opened your eyes or made you see the world differently? Gosh, a million things. Definitely going to Africa and seeing the kids in Africa completely changed my outlook on everything. Their attitudes, they had so little. They didn't have shoes. They didn't have food half the time. Like they didn't have parents. This was an orphanage. Like they didn't have anything, and they were so happy, so full of joy, so appreciative, so loving. And like, I don't know. It just made me go, wow, I'm so ungrateful. That was a big one. The first time I went, especially, I came home like completely rocked by that. Another thing that I saw while traveling, this always sticks out to me because people do ask me this, like, what's changed your perspective from traveling so much? And we were in, I think it was like Morocco, or I was somewhere in that part of the world. It might have been Spain, but it was somewhere, and there was this kind of museum. It had all of these skeletons in there and like bones from ancient. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember why I was there or what this museum was for, to be honest with you, because that's not really the point. But there were just these cases of bones, just human bones and skulls and skeletons. And then there were stories about like the people that used to live there. And you would read the stories and then you'd just see their skeleton and their bones. I don't know why this feels so morbid, but I don't know. I just am morbid now, I guess. But seeing all those bones up in these cases and like hearing these stories about people honestly just made me stop in my tracks. I was not right for the rest of that trip because I was like, we're just going to be a pile of bones. I'm just going to be a pile of bones. Like that's all I really am. Nothing in my body matters. It's just bones, you know? And so it's more important to like feed your soul and like invest in your soul, because there's a chance, and I believe this, but there's more of a chance that continues. You know, your body's not continuing. It's going to be bones. That's all you are. I know that's a little drastic, but that really hit me. When I first saw that, I was just like moved by that. We're a pile of bones. And then you get cremated. And if you're lucky, your family buys the high-end option, you know, and you're actually not even bones, you're just powder. But check the options at 603cremations.com. Anyway, that's my answer. Okay, I just like vividly remember that being life-changing for me. And I think it's when I really started caring less about my image and like my physicality a little bit and more about the soul and like the spirit. Okay? Woo-woo. Just woo-woo alert. Woo-woo alert. All right, guys, let's get to it. The Jill pill. Okay, because this has been kind of an intense episode. It's not too intense, but it's just a lot of, I'm hoping I gave good advice because you just never know, you know? Like you could, if you don't like it, just throw it away. It's okay. I won't be offended. Time for your Jill pill. Your Jill pill of the week is this, okay? Ride your own wave. And here's what I mean by that. You are going to encounter so many other people, whether they be your family and friends, coworkers, or whether it be like politicians and public figures. They all have the ability to affect your mood, to affect your behavior, affect your health, how you feel. There are some people who are going to want to take you on their emotional roller coaster as their like emotional support person. They're wanting you to ride their wave. And you can't ride their wave. You have to ride your own wave. If you feel exhausted, like you can't catch up and you're just always feeling drained, you might want to just take a look and be like, am I riding someone else's emotional wave? Are they dragging me into theirs? Because you have control over your own, and you can't control other people's emotions, how they affect you, or how they're riding their own wave. But you can only just focus on yourself and try not to be bothered by their emotional roller coasters. Just ride your own wave, okay? If we all stay in our lane, I think that's the best place to be. That's your goal for this week. That's your dose, okay? Ride your own wave. All right, guys, that's all I got. That's all I got for you today. Dear Jill, your questions, my advice. I hope that was good. I hope you liked it. Thank you for submitting questions because you gave me content for a whole episode, and I appreciate that. Thank you for listening. You can find me at JiPi Music on Instagram and TikTok. My website is takeajillpill.com. And if you want to leave me a rating and review, I always appreciate it. I'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. Until next time, be good. Take a Jill pill. Bye.